we have a new card from the Mega Pack, and it is called Bot Herder. Which is alongside the, I forgot the name of the Queen card that was already announced, but it is the second TCG exclusive in the Megatins. So let's see what we have here. It is a spell card that says target a monster your opponent controls that is a face-up monster you own or a face-down defense position monster. Okay. If that monster is no longer on the field or is a monster you own, if face down, reveal it briefly to check. Apply these. What is this wording? What is this wording? Target a monster your opponent controls that is a face-up monster you own or a face-down defense position monster. If that monster is no longer on the field or is a monster you own, if face down, reveal it briefly to check. Apply these effects in sequence. Dude, what? Okay. Okay, so what this means is you have to target a face-down monster, or you have to target a monster that you gave to them, or they stole, hypothetically, right? But if you target, okay, the weird thing here is that if they set a monster from hand, right? If they set a monster, or like let's say you play against Eniacraft, and you target their face-down monster, nothing happens, right? Like, literally nothing happens. You just can you activate it on that? They tried to word it in a way where it would work for Mimighoul. Yeah, I see that now that I'm thinking about it. Because, like, inflict 200 damage to your opponent, take control of all monsters your opponent controls except that monster. So, this is very obviously Mimighoul coded. The reason I thought of it was because Mimighoul Throne was right next to it. I was like, okay, I got that hint. But it's just funny to me how this is worded, because if you think about what this means is if your opponent just normal sets a monster, right? Like they just set a monster and pass. You hypothetically you can target that face down monster with this card, but then if this card were to resolve, nothing would happen, right? Because if that monster is no longer on the field, not the case, right? It's still there. Or is a monster you own, not the case. Your opponent said it. It's not your monster. Nothing happens. All you do is you check briefly. You check briefly is what you do. Okay. Okay, but okay, that the wording aside, which I think is funny. This is a Mimighoul card, right? Which further solidifies my suspicion with the previous card already, that in this year's Megatin, they are basically just instead of making the TCG exclusives. Well, I mean, I can think of two examples of what they've done with the TCG exclusives in Megatins in the past. Let me know if I'm missing something, but in 2019, they did Nibiru, Dark Ruler, and Shifter, which all three have been very, very strong, right? But like generic cards, basically. They made like generically good Yu-Gi-Oh cards in 2019. And then, I don't know if it was last year. Was last year the one with Thea, the Primal Being? I think so, right? That was last year. Last year, they decided to also make generic cards, but instead of making them very impactful, they just made them unplayable as hell, which was an interesting approach. So this year, instead of making generic cards, they are making targeted support at the TCG exclusive archetypes without them being officially Mimighoul cards or Ascent cards or whatever. They're making a support card for these archetypes, which I think is cool. Heavy Poly is being played. Yeah, okay. Heavy Poly is like fine. Sure. Okay. Heavy Poly was fine. This is an interesting board breaker in a Mimighoul deck. All things considered, you know, it is not good going first, of course. Like it does nothing. Pretty much. Unless you give them multiple Mimighouls and then you want to steal them. It's like, but not really great, right? But when you are going second, this is a potentially very interesting card. Because you steal your opponent's entire board. And it's not even like until the end of the turn. It's just yours now. You own it. It's just yours. You go. Your opponent makes a board. If there's no negates on it or whatever, you just give him one Mimighoul, activate Bot Herder, and take everything, you know? It's not terrible when you think about that, you know? Yeah, no, I could see it. I could see it. I'm less focused right now on this specific card. I'm more focused on the overlying concept here, which is that the Megatins of this year are supporting all the TCG exclusives of this year, of like the previous season. I like that concept. I'm just wondering how many of these we're gonna get, because I don't think they've said explicitly like how many of these we are expecting, because this suggests that there will be one for every archetype. And if they do make one for every archetype, that also means we get a Mitsurugi support card, right? Which would be crazy if it's actually good, right? They were 3 last year. Last year there was 3 new cards in the Megatins. So, and 2019 was also 3. So it would suggest that there would be 3 cards, but at the same time, I think there's more than 3 archetypes, right? Because there is Mitsurugi still. There is Tistina? I have no idea how long ago Tistina was. Mitsurugi won't be in these tins. Is Mitsurugi too new to be in the tins? Maybe you're right. I'm not sure if I don't know where it cuts off. I don't actually know where the Megatin. What's the last set in the Megatins? Rage of the Abyss? Rage of the Abyss was not the Mitsurugi set, right? Mitsurugi was, I keep forgetting the set names and which set what had what. I'm not very good at remembering that. Supreme Darkness. Supreme Darkness. Okay. Yeah. Okay, then maybe we are not expecting a Mitsurugi. Dude, I don't know. I think it's an interesting concept. Let's just wait and see what they announce for the other one. This one is reasonable, I think. I think the problem with this card in particular is that, like, of course, Mimighoul struggles going second, and this card can help with that 100%, right? Like, Mimighoul will appreciate this card for going second, and I think if you are playing Mimighoul, you probably include like at least 1 copy of this for like Thrust, maybe, or you side deck, like, for going second, you side deck more copies. Also depending on the matchup, you know, because in some matchups this might be better, in some matchups this might be worse. But like, it's definitely a good card for Mimighoul. But like, it doesn't do anything for the deck going first, and I do think that is a problem for Mimighoul. I do think Mimighoul going first is... it's good in some ways, but just like not convincingly strong enough, I feel. Yeah. And also it still kind of suffers from the impulse being in the format, but that's just like a very unfortunate like timing thing. That's just not gonna... you can't really do anything about that. It counters Izuna? Sure. Yeah, okay. If you go first and your opponent like does some stuff, like, it's funny because it doesn't target, so even if they make like an untargetable rank 5 with the Izuna and the Lupus, you just take it, which is pretty cool. And you get to keep it, so yeah. No, I like this card. I think it's good. I think it's good for Mimighoul. Basically nothing else, which, while I do like the TCG exclusive support in this, I was kind of hoping for some generic new cards as well. I think that would have been exciting as well, but seems like that's not the direction they're going this year, which is fine, I guess. But this card's cool. Introducing Mimighoul in the same set as Dominus cards was certainly a choice. I don't know if that was planned, to be honest with you. I think this was mostly a coincidence, because I don't think like I don't think the TCG exclusive cards are obviously developed in the TCG, and I think the other stuff is mostly developed in the OCG. So it just like, I don't think they came up with those ideas simultaneously and like checked them against each other, right? I think it just something that happened, unfortunately. I don't know, or they didn't think of it too much, right? Because like, no, the Dominus cards weren't out yet, so it wasn't like an interaction they had in their mind when they made the Mimighoul cards. I don't know. Oh yeah.